This is your Chargers linebacker, Dan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. If this is your first time tuning in to the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein, the magic number of the night is 45, because that is how many hours remaining we have until the 2025 NFL Draft. We are this close, Dan. We are this close. And tonight will actually be our last pod that we will do prior to the NFL Draft. Lots to get into tonight, as far as, obviously, when we do these live shows, you guys drive the narrative. It is question and answer time. Dan and I are going to try to get in as much as we can. And, of course, we're going to do one last mock draft where Dan and I will be alternating back and forth our selections by pick. Dan, I felt like I've been waiting 84 years to get this close. And 45 hours still seems like an eternity away. How the hell are you, Dan Wolkenstein?
I will be Rose. You can be Jack.
Please.
But this time there are room for both of us on the door. Jeez. We're going to survive this together.
There's always room. I don't care what the hell they say. There was always room for both on the door. James Cameron is a son of a bitch.
But no, I digress. I'm good. I feel like this has crept up on me, honestly. I can't believe we're less than 2 days away already, which is nuts. By this time, next 48 hours from now, we'll know who the Chargers picked. But that's what makes today fun. And we have probably done less mock drafts than we've done in the past this year. And I think there's somewhat of a reason for that. But we'll get into that, plus some Q&As and some kind of last thoughts before we kind of dive into this. And we'll kind of use each other and folks listening, tuning in as we create this 7-round mock draft. But let's check the chat real quick. Those who are in here real fast. What are you guys drinking? What are you having? What are you doing? You watching the Lakers game right now? Probably. Jake, while folks in the chat tell us what they're drinking, eating, and doing, how are you, my friend?
I'm feeling good, Dan.
Oh, you're feeling good.
I'm feeling good, Dan. I'm feeling good. Thursday night is going to be a very exciting night for a multitude of different reasons. I know that a lot of you had asked during our last live show if we were going to be doing a live show during the 3 days. Short answer is no, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to be putting up certain things. So, again, stay tuned for that. There is a good reason why there is not a 3-day coverage from Chargers Unleashed as it relates to the draft. But I have a feeling that this weekend is going to be a hell of a lot of fun for a number of different reasons. And Dan and I are going to try to come up with some creative ideas in order to get in front of you guys.
Yes. This is going to be a fun one. And I always get nervous when we do our last mock draft, because this is kind of one of those, like, everything we know now. How are we going to do this?
Yep.
Let's get to some of these comments real quick. Brad Spicoli is in the house. What's up, Brad? Bitcoin, not crypto. Who would be atop the list? We'll get to that in a bit here. We've got a super chat. Here we go. Steven Jajo. I have done over 16 plus mock drafts and posted on my Facebook, but using Pro Football Mock. I've used a few different tools. I've used PFF. I've used Pro Football Mock in the past. I've also used this new one that someone sent me today, sticktothemodel.com, which is actually pretty nifty. But yeah, there's all kinds of them out there. Another super sticker, $5 donation by Forgotten Locale. All right, we're cooking with gas right now. Jake, friend of the show.
Talk about him.
Yoda, bro. This is the director. Settling in to watch Andor, but want to say bolt up 2 more days. Let's get it. Yeah.
Man, if Chargers Unleashed fits in the director's schedule that takes precedence over him watching something Star Wars related, that's a big deal. So appreciate the director for that one.
Yes. Weege says, anyone else interested in Will Johnson at 22? I mean, I'll raise my hand for that.
I don't
Sure.
hate it. I mean, it's as much of a case as you could say, hey, it would be a great fit as Kenneth Grant and Colson Loveland. I mean, Will Johnson, you saw what he did with Steve Clinkscale years ago. Sure.
Yeah. Andrew Herrera about the one dinner, and tune in with the boys.
Plural.
Yes. So
Sure.
many. Bitcoin, not crypto. Who would be strong BPA candidates on the Chargers board after Grant and Loveland? Who would be next? Nolan, Booker, Zabel, Donovan Jackson, Golden, Amika, Green, everyone else in the draft? One or more of these guys will be on the board, at least. Yes. And we'll kind of get to that here. A few people asking about kind of who's at the top of the list, asking if any chance we can move up. Yes, not in round one, in my opinion. But Jake, do you agree?
I agree. I think that especially if you take Ortiz's comments recently, and if you take the history of the most recent years in Baltimore when he was there, then let the board fall to them. So I don't think that there is going to be that player that they think that is going to come off their board that's going to subplan or force them to go up and get them, because you've set yourself up in such a BPA format that if you lose out, let's just say on the top 2 tight ends, you're probably going to have one of the best interior defensive linemen fall to you. So I think they're going to stay pat. I think they're going to allow the board to fall to them, and they'll end up selecting a pretty good player at 22.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's see. We said, what would it take to get up to Genty range and have another LT like decade? Now,
if we're to believe anything in the last, 24 hours of the rumors of Genty now possibly going top 5 to Jacksonville, there's been talk that the Broncos have been trying to position themselves to move up. There's been talk that the Bears are trying to position themselves to move up into the top 5. There's always the price is always going to go up when you have to battle other teams to negotiate up. And in this case, for Ashton Genty, it has to be anything that's above 6. And I don't care how many picks the Chargers have. You're not mortgaging that much of your draft capital to do that.
Well, let's just look at this handy dandy draft capital chart here. Again, it's not complete set in stone, but gives you a good ballpark.
Dan Wolkenstein with the hypocriticals in the first 5 minutes of the show.
I didn't give the hypocritical. I'm just giving context to what you're saying. Get out of here.
I'm just giving you shit, Wolkenstein.
So let's say Jacksonville, 1,700 points is number 5. Like, there's no chance they're getting up to that. But people say, what if? So they got to get to 1,700. Their number 22 selection is 780. So that's going to require, in theory, probably next year's first, this year's second to get done. Not a chance. Now, let's say he falls past the Raiders at 6. Let's say he gets past the Bears at 10. Let's say he kind of creeps into the Miami Indy range, which again, like, he's not going to, right? But that would probably require first and second.
Hey, Ricky Williams was taken 5th overall in his respective draft. And you remember what was done to go up and get him. And look how that turned out.
Whew. Yeah. Everyone got high on that one. So I think, which we'll talk about here in a bit, I think the trade up is probably much more likely in round 2 or round 3. The draft capital required to do that is far less, and you have a lot more action there, in my opinion. Mark Scott says, package some of the 6th rounders to do a move up. Sure, you could. But like, in the grand scheme of things, this is why I'm saying you would need to probably do it not in the first round. Like, those 6th round picks are all roughly anywhere from 5 to 18 points in the scale. So even if you package all of them together, it's like 40 points, which is the equivalent to a roughly end of 4th round. So again, like it takes two to tango, and some people will be desperate. But I think this is where you'll probably start to see something similar, like do a pick swap. What you saw last year, where they moved up a few spots to get Ladd, traded a 4th for a 5th. You know, in short, you don't give up much. But yeah, like it's funny, Jake, and I think you and I have gone through this a few times over the years. Like all of the trade up, trade down stuff, it sounds great, but like when you start getting to brass tacks, it's not as easy as people think, and it always takes two.
It does, and just look, Ashton Genty's going to be a phenomenal player in the NFL. And
just let it go. Let it go.
Does any of us wish that he would be in a position for the Chargers to take him? Absolutely. It's just not going to happen. And again, the way that the Chargers have positioned themselves with one of the deepest running back classes in the last 20 years, you're not going to mortgage the entire future that you have to make a jump up 15 plus picks to go and select someone, even of his caliber. Even if
it's not a running back, insert position. Like if I'm the Chargers, I'm not going up to that for anybody. Literally. Like the only position I'm mortgaging that is probably quarterback. Otherwise, like it might be a handful of picks, like a handful of from 22 to 18, 17, something like that. But otherwise, it ain't working. It ain't worth it. Rather let Ortiz take the 4 picks in the 6th. I mean, yeah, he's got a pretty good track record. Although, if you can give up maybe a 2/6 and move up to, I don't know, somewhere in the top 100 pick swap kind of thing, like, yeah, you do it. You do it. What players are currently on the roster do you think would be draft night candidates from us? So who currently on the Chargers roster could be draft night trade candidates?
It's an interesting one. We have not been posed this question yet. And honestly, nobody that I could think of off of my head that would actually like gain you significant capital. You're obviously not trading your biggest players. You're not going to trade Khalil Mack. You're not trading Derwin James. You're obviously not trading Justin Herbert. You're not trading any of your 2 rookies that you got last year. You're not trading any of the free agents that you brought in, which was a lot, even on 1-year deals. Kind of makes the bulk of the run. You're not going to trade Deion Henley. You're not going to give up on Junior Colson. Your secondary has been pretty much remade. I mean, maybe the only one that you can make an argument for, and at best it would be day 3 capital. Maybe he's Alohi, but they love Alohi Gilman.
Or
and
Quentin.
He is perfect for how Jesse Minter wants to deploy his defense, for the fact that you now have Derwin James, Alohi, and the secondary that you have in that. It works. So Dan brought up Quentin, but that's another one that I just don't see even getting you significant draft capital in return. So I'm not so sure
that might not be what they're after, though. Like, say they get a 5th or a 6th.
I mean, you traded away J.C. Jackson for, what was that, a 7th round pick?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. That was also the trade deadline. But I also think the way that this organization has made their stance on certain players and will back some of their certain players, I think they're still backing Quentin Johnston for at least one more season.
For sure. But I can see that changing if they go and select a wide receiver in day 1 or 2 and giving him a fresh start somewhere else. Like, I could see it. I wouldn't be surprised. Hell, it would be less surprising than Keenan Allen getting traded. I'll tell you that much. Like, that kind of opened my eyes to, all right, well, anything's possible. Mark Scott says, I would love to jump the Broncos because, well, they are the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos.
Now, that is a little interesting. So, again, this is why I love these trade value charts, because you can start to get kind of realistic with what that would require. And again, we're going to get into a mock draft here in a bit. So stay tuned. So let's say they want to jump Denver, right? Denver is at 850 for pick number 20. So let's say they want to trade Seattle, who's at 19, or Seattle's 18, Tampa Bay's at 19. So there's roughly like 100-point difference there. That could be like a round 4, round 6, maybe 2 of your 6, then a round 4 pick swap.
If Colson Lovin's on the board at Seattle or Tampa Bay, do you do it? Again, 10 minutes ago, we were just saying that we did not foresee a first round trade up.
But I don't foresee it. It'd be awfully hard not to. Would you? Would you do it?
No, I wouldn't.
I'm just curious. Seattle. Let's look real fast. What do they got? So they already have. So I was talking about them last week. They already have 2 second-round picks. And they got a whole lot of work. Seattle's got a shit ton of picks.
Seattle has a lot of work to do to build up their board.
Yeah. So they could possibly do a trade down if you wanted to. Interesting. Yeah. That could be fun. Can you imagine the blood, sweat, and tears from all Chargers fans if Colston Loveland is available after 14? Let's say Indy picked and Colston Loveland's still there.
Again, the best thing that you could possibly hope for is that Tyler Warren really goes to Indianapolis, and that's where the tight end conversation starts. If he goes anywhere in the top 10, it's looking bleak for Colston Loveland to fall to 22.
Yeah, again, like, just for the record, there's not a chance in hell Genty falls. Warren's not falling. Loveland could. But I think you could see value elsewhere, in my opinion. Mark says, forgot who I heard today, but they think Sawyer, Pipkins, sure. He's getting paid a ton. Zion, sure. Last bit of his rookie contract. Quentin, yeah. Forgotten lookout. Asante's a free agent, isn't he? He is.
Yes, he is still. And if anybody listened to the press conference of Joe Ortiz from a week ago, he kind of put the proverbial stamp that doesn't sound like there's any return possible for Asante in the future. I still don't know exactly what is going on with that situation or what took place. But yeah, any chance at a reunion is pretty much gone.
Yep. Which is kind of interesting. There's got to be. I mean, we know there's something going on in the background there. We just don't know what it is. Albert asks, do you guys feel we need a receiver with the first pick since we did nothing in free agency? Now, Jake. I'm
assuming he's talking about nothing as it relates to receiver.
Which he probably is forgetting or doesn't care about Mike Williams, which there's a chat. It's funny. There was a comment earlier saying, like, are we not talking about Mike Williams enough? Because, Justin Herbert trusts him. But to answer the question, Jake, do you think this Chargers team needs to draft a receiver at 1?
Do they need to draft a receiver at 1? No. But do I think that there's a receiver in the first round that interests them for what they need to have another X option to be the heir apparent to the days when Mike Williams is no longer on this roster, possibly a year from now? Yes. And that is one Teteroa McMillan. Outside of that, I know a few mock drafts who have had the Chargers. I even actually saw one from I can't remember if it was Trevor Sikkema or if it was somebody else from PFF, that they did a trade down scenario where the Chargers actually traded back with the Lions and selected Matthew Golden, picked up an additional 4th in the process. Now the Chargers stayed pat at 22. Still, to me, it's been Teteroa McMillan as far as a wide receiver option, or I'm looking elsewhere. You pick up another wide receiver in round 2, round 3, and beyond, because the Chargers have a specific skill set that they're looking for in this particular draft. And there's a handful of those that you can look for. So if it's me, it's Teteroa McMillan in the first draft or in the first round. If he's not there, then I'm looking to a different position.
Bolted Chad, if Nolan, Hampton, Henderson, and Golden are all on board at 22, who's the pick? So you've got defensive tackle, running backs, and wide receiver. I don't think it's running backs.
I think Hampton will be gone. I think Henderson 22 is
but they're saying if they're all there.
Right. I'm just telling you. So
okay.
I wouldn't go running back. I think Henderson at 22 would be too rich, even if he was on the board for that. Golden, I'll admit, I've warmed up to Golden.
Have you?
As a wide receiver, obviously, as a wide receiver. And in terms of the options for the Chargers at 22, no, I still have about 5 or 6 options that I would be taking well above that.
So draft him.
If it's me, it's if these are my options, it's Walter Nolan 100%.
Yeah, it probably for me it'd be Nolan, Hampton, Golden, Henderson. But it's kind of like Nolan tier by itself. DD Gravener. I'm just waiting for someone to make me slip up with one of these random names again. Best Chargers podcast by far. Appreciate you both. Well, first off, appreciate you, Double D Gravener. Second, there's a lot of great ones out there. So we're all in this together. We're all in this together. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe. It'll help us out a ton. Shameless plug. Mark says, after the draft, the Chargers should find an edge free agent. 100% agree. Yes, and there's a ton of them. Jake?
Oh, you were looking for a retort?
No. I was just going to ask, do we want to start? Do we want to kind of give it another, let's go through questions for like another 7 to 10 minutes. Let's get as many in as we can before we dive into the mock draft, the final mock draft before the 2025 draft. Okay. Breeze, there's a bunch of questions here, so it's kind of fun. Breeze says, please, I hope the Chargers don't trade up for an injury risk. So
is this Colston Loveland that you're referring to with the shoulder injury? I'm curious as who would be the injury risks that you would stay away from?
Yeah. Brad says, I think we take a center. I think we take either a flexible interior offensive lineman or one of, I think they take a guard before a center, to be honest.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy if you think about how much now, like not just the narrative, because if the pick ended up being Gray Zabel at 22, I wouldn't hate it at all. Would totally understand it. I personally would love the pick because that's a guy that's going to give you positional versatility, has played everywhere along the line during his college career, and could definitely step in and be your center come day one. And that's your long-term option now to pair with Justin Herbert, which would be great. But it was like the first 2 weeks after the combine, it was all talk about Gray Zabel at 22. Mm-hmm. And now this is always the things that happen as we get closer to the draft.
Yeah.
It's a different narrative and a different narrative and a different narrative. And that's the beauty part of this whole process, is just how different the conversations can change from 1 week to the next.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. You get kind of bored with the narrative, so you just go to the next one, right? And then after a while, you're bored of Gray Zabels, and you get to the receivers. You're talking about Tech McMillan, you're talking about Golden. Golden was a hot commodity for a while. And then it was kind of all defensive line ever since. Now we're kind of getting to those like grasping at straws, like, oh, what if Will Johnson's there? What if, maybe there's an edge you can go after, Shamar Stewart or something? Or, what if that bona fide safety's there? We've reached that part of the season, or the off season, I should say. G-Pal Money. How do you guys decide between Daion's intro and Mike Williams' intro?
Dan, this is all you.
If you want to know, we have ones that we can use for live shows. We have ones that we have for the recorded ones. So for the live show, we've got, I think it's Daion. For recorded, we can do whatever the hell we want.
The fact that you picked up on that and actually presented the question,
that's impressive.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Shows that you're listening even before Dan and I start talking, which is pretty damn good.
I'm surprised I hit the 15-second fast forward button. Uber Goober Jock. Don't be critical of the hypothetical, Jake.
I can be critical of the hypercritical.
Fine.
I could be thetical of the hypercritical.
Okay, fair enough. Jake has a crush on. Ooh, who does Jake have a crush on?
I think when we were going through the 4-player hypercritical situation, and when I said it's like, I like Golden as a receiver. I think that's where that came from.
Okay. Oh man, Brad asked, "Do we get a running back? And who do you think is in any round? Who do you think in any round?" Yes, they do get a
Yes.
running back. I would put money on it.
Mm-hmm. If Travion Henderson falls to 55, the closer that we've gotten, it just does not seem like that's probably going to happen. I am a huge fan of RJ Harvey. I think his stock is on the rise, and I think he's going to go higher than what many people think. I would love to see a pairing between Damian Martinez and Najee Harris for the backfield. You talk about an ass-kicking, run-you-over type duo that they could bring to the table. I love Damian Martinez. There's so many different running backs in this class, and just in terms of skill set, style. Ortiz talked about this a lot in terms of if you want someone who's going to be similar in skill set to Najee, or somebody who's going to complement him by having something completely different, which personally, I think that's the way that they should go. I think that was the way that they tried to build it up when they had J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, because honestly, they were just polar opposites of one another in terms of their style. J.K. was the more explosive. Gus Edwards was your short yardage back. I think you're going to try now to not only that you have Najee, who's durable, been more productive over the last couple of years, but I think you're still going to try to complement him in a different way by getting someone who's a different skill set than him.
Yeah. I also find some of these trade post-draft stuff kind of fascinating. Matthew asks, Mark Andrews possibly traded to LA during the draft? I don't think you would have it during the draft, but you still have rumblings about Mark Andrews, you feel Dallas Goedert still as a possibility. Those are hefty price tags on both of them. Definitely Mark Andrews. Dallas Goedert, I think, would be a little bit more reasonable, but still. But both of those I could absolutely see as options if they strike out in the draft on a tight end. I don't think they go in with Conklin as their tight end one. At least tight end one for pass catching. I just don't see it. Any other of these comments that we should get to before we can get to the comments as we go through this, because a lot of this is like who you would take, which we can get through as we go through the draft. Dennis says picking Zabel would be pretty cool. It means you have 5 first-round offensive linemen. Has that ever been done in the NFL? Well, 4 of which you're proud of, probably.
It's a fair way to say it.
At least right now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fair way to say it. I'm sure it's happened before. Yeah. I just don't have the teams in my head.
Andrew, when will Ortiz get the Slater deal done? That was one of my biggest needs for the Chargers this offseason, to not wait to sign him and get it done ASAP. Well, the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets.
My feeling is that before we hit training camp, you will see an extension for Rashawn Slater. That's my guess.
I think before the end of week 1 training camp, you'll see it.
There is still a sizable amount of cap space that the Chargers have right now. And obviously for what you're going to pocket away for your rookies, and then anything that happens to take place mid-season due to injuries, you can get a deal done here in the next couple months. So I think it's before training camp. That's my guess when they end up getting it done.
So let's get into the draft a little bit here, Jake. Before we get to our picks, right? I think we should sort of set the stage and kind of let Chargers fans set the stage for themselves on kind of where this Chargers roster is in terms of like needs, as well as kind of when to prioritize or when you can prioritize those positions, and kind of just draft strategy talk for a sec. Weege asks, what about pass rusher at 22? Hasn't been too much of a narrative on that and feels like a gap Jib wants to fill. So yes, on the latter. Yes, that it has not really been talked about much. Edge really hasn't been something that we hear in or see in really any of the mock drafts that the Chargers put out, that anybody talks about with the Chargers. And I mean, like, that's kind of for good reason. But I think the larger question, Jake, we can get into this specifically, but I think everyone would agree tight end is a need, right? I think everybody would agree that I guess guard wouldn't be everybody agreeing. So I'll table that. Would you put receiver there as like a huge need?
If there's one specific wide receiver on the board,
Not necessarily at 22, just saying generally.
in general, then yes, you still have to do that. Whether it's sub-planning for the loss of Joshua Palmer or you're looking ahead to if Mike Williams only ends up lasting on the team, and you still don't really know what you have in Quentin Johnston. So, yeah, you're better to cover your bets.
So wide receiver, tight end. I mean, definitely interior defensive line. So that's 3 positions.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a chance they don't do offensive line.
You know Joe Ortiz is going to draft a corner at some point in the draft.
No, but okay. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying count it as a priority.
So that's 5. And then special teams is big, so you can almost guarantee a linebacker or a safety.
Yep.
And then that's not including running back. So we haven't even talked about edge there.
But I guarantee you it's going to be one that's considered.
At 22?
It could be at 22. It could be at 22. Depending on how the board falls. Now, if you were to stack rank those priorities, that's a different story. Because you know Carter's going to be gone. You know that Jalen Walker is probably going to be gone. Most likely Mike Green's going to be off the board by that point in time. I don't know where Shamar Stewart is going to go. And on top of that, I don't think that would necessarily be the best fit for the Chargers personally. I lean more towards a Donovan Izaraku. I'm very torn on James Pierce. I don't think that the value for him at 22 would necessarily be there. So if it's me, Dan, it's a finite amount of players at 22 that I'm looking to consider. So if it was me, I'd probably punt on this until the second or the third round. And that's where I would look to pick up my edge rusher.
Yeah, I'm with you. Robert D, what's up, Dan? Darth Dan, sorry. And Jake. I feel like I haven't been Darth Dan in a while.
Well, that's how you leave your mark. When you change your personality, even for one episode, that's how much of a lasting impact it has.
Yeah. Pappy says, I have edge Savion Jones in the 4th round. Maybe. Let's go do it, Jake.
Let's go.
All right.
So so for context, Dan and I are going to alternate picks. We've got 10 picks to choose from. And to be fair to one another, there will be no trades. We are going to let the board fall to us. Dan, how would you like to determine on who is going to select number 1 with the 22nd overall pick?
Let's let the chat decide. Jake or Dan? Who's drafting? Who do you think they're going to say? Who do you think they're going to say? I think they're going to say Jake.
Just means they're going to say you now, Dan.
We're going to give it 10 seconds here. Some people are talking about Josiah Stewart in the 3rd. Call your shot on this year's biggest bust candidate. Ooh, that's a good question.
Ooh.
Booker, Stewart, or Walker?
Walker.
Ooh, by the way, it's definitely me. I got 4 in a row, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. See?
Let's go. See, that's because they trust me. Oh, but then the trees are over here.
Not Dan.
Anybody but Dan.
Dan, the floor is yours. Roger Goodell steps up to the podium for the Chargers with the 22nd overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.
Oh, man.
The Los Angeles Chargers select.
Do I want to do it again?
No, let's save that until the end now. That was a good little taste.
Okay. All right, let's fire the simulator up. We'll use PFF because I think that's what most people are comfortable with, familiar with. Let me share my screen here for folks who are listening. This should be interesting for you, but for folks watching, a lot easier for you. You can put your comments in the chat as we go through here of what you think we should do, but we'll take all things under consideration. But shit, I'm going first.
You're going first, dude. You got the majority.
No.
Let's go to work.
All right, here we go.
What are you using? PFF? Is that the module you're going to use? Yes, he is.
Yes.
Okay. I have no idea how the hell the board fell to you, but obviously looking at who's on the board, and I'm not going to say shit right now.
No, you can. No, we're doing this together. I make the final decision.
Yeah, we're doing it together, but
yeah,
I don't end up making your selection. This is why somebody's either going to flame you or they're going to flame me for each one of our selections. That's going to go through this.
Yeah, so just to put context on this, the folks who are gone. So Loveland's gone.
Jesus, where the hell did
McMillan's gone? Mason Graham's gone, obviously.
What draft was it? Wait, Warren. Wow.
Tyler Warren.
Warren wasn't even the first tight end off the board. Okay, but he still ended up going to the Colts.
Will Johnson's gone. Mike Green's gone. Derek Harmon's gone.
That's a heartbreaker.
Yep.
That's another heartbreaker.
Amara Hampton goes to the.
There's another heartbreaker.
All right, so we're already in our feelings.
All right. So with the 2020 or the 22nd overall pick, Chargers step to the podium. Dan, what is the name that Roger Goodell reads?
So this is where it just gets interesting because Gray Zabel's there. So all the names that everyone heard is there right now. So you got Gray Zabel, Matthew Golden, Kenneth Grant, and Egbuka. And you've got Walter Nolan.
I think you know what to do.
If this is me, this is where I can talk myself into some of these other ones, but this is pretty easy for me. All things considered. Yeah, I'm going Walter Nolan. Okay. I think I had an easier one today. All right. I think I'm good. All right. So, Jake, you are up now.
Real quick, justification of picking Walter Nolan over Kenneth Grant. I'm curious.
This is actually pretty easy for me. I think Kenneth Grant is fantastic. And I know how much this Chargers team, especially the coaching staff, is all about Kenneth Grant. But for me, I think Walter Nolan brings so much more from a pass rushing perspective. And I think this Chargers defensive line needs juice there. Like, they need a bona fide dude. And sure, they can go the Jamal Williams route and have that anchor that doesn't move. And again, he's kind of a freak too. But I think the pass rushing prowess of Walter Nolan is maybe second best at worst in this draft. Third worst, I guess, if you want to count the one we're not even getting close to. Derek Harmon was probably the one that I would like to choose if I had a choice. But yeah, consolation prize, if you will, I would absolutely take Walter Nolan.
Fair enough.
Okay, Jake. So after the Chargers selected Walter Nolan, Luther Burden goes right afterwards. Gray Zabel. Wow, look at the names that go right after the Chargers.
Egbuka goes to the Ravens. That's
Kenneth Grant, Gray Zabel, Shamar Stewart, Egbuka, and Golden are all.
Good God. Golden goes to Detroit as if they need any more firepower over there.
This would piss me off. Trey Amos goes to the Chiefs. Shedeur Sanders goes the first pick of round 1 or round 2. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Trayvon Henderson's gone.
Goes 35.
Jaden Higgins is
Morrison,
gone.
37. Higgins is gone.
Jack Besh is gone. Darius Alexander is gone, but you already went.
Yep, already went
there. Mason Taylor is gone.
That sucks.
Trey Harris is gone.
That really sucks.
So, here are what position groups would you like to look at?
I don't even really like these top 5 of the overall. Not to say that I don't like them, just in terms of the priority where I would pick them. Because obviously, I'm a huge TJ Sanders fan, but you're not going to go there considering that you just went Walter Nolan. Cam Scattergoose probably wouldn't be where I would select him. And I love Alec Iomanner. I think he's perfect for the Chargers, especially considering his blocking ability.
Yep.
But there's a player that's right down there where you just were a second ago, Dan.
Seeing how long it would take for you to get there.
Mm-hmm. Elijah Arroyo is my selection for the Chargers at 55.
All right. Now, why would you go tight end over receiver for a guy like Kyle Williams, Io Manor? Wait, go for someone later.
I mean, and it's a big case to make against Jalen Royals because Jalen Royals could step in, be a versatile piece, play inside, outside for what you need at the wide receiver spot. Another guy who's a tough competitor, has Jim Harbaugh basically written all over him for what he could be in this offense. But that tight end roster right now is just aching for some playmaking ability. Give Justin Herbert the tight end that he has not had since his rookie season in Hunter Henry, and give him a receiving threat like Elijah Arroyo. That's the pick.
And you wouldn't go offensive line. I'm not changing your answer, but you wouldn't go starting guard?
Here's why I won't do this, because I'm going to try to keep this as realistic as possible as it relates to my selection. I think Tate Ratledge is going to be long gone before 55. I think his stock is going to be higher than what people imagine. Jared Wilson, you can make a case for that, considering what the Chargers need at center. Big, athletic. He can kick some ass for sure for what he could be inserted as. And if you were to tell me that you had an offensive line from center to the right with Jared Wilson, Mekhi Becton, and Joe Alt, that'd be pretty damn nice. Pretty damn nice.
It would.
But
we did this exercise.
I was hoping that Mason Taylor was going to fall here and that would have been the selection. But given the fact of when you look at that tight end room and the desperate need that it helps as far as a receiving option goes, that's what draws me to it.
All right, so we can let this be the pick, but like this is, I think, an important inflection point for this Chargers team and for Chargers fans as they go through this, because you have to start thinking about like what is the gap between some of these players at certain positions. So, for example, Elijah Arroyo versus, let's say they didn't go him and got a Terrence Ferguson maybe round 3, or you can go Harold Fannin, you can go Mitchell Evans, which I talked about as a totally Harbaugh type, or worse, right? Like the difference between that group or those groups, and let's go to receiver real fast. The names that are available here, you've got Io Manor, Royals, who a lot of people like Royals, Kyle Williams, who is so smooth, Jalen Noel's there, Tesla's there, Torrey Horton's there, who I think both of us really like, Pat Bryant's there. So like, it sounds to me like this crop of receivers to you isn't that different.
It's not that it's not different. And I love how this is all the context that I'm getting for the 55th selection. That's great.
Yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying this is the thought process of like, what are you going to weigh off here? Like, are you cool with it?
Again, just because for the Chargers, we talked about it a little bit earlier in terms of a X-type receiver prototype that they're probably looking for. I feel that you can still get one, whether it's the next round for Dan or beyond that. I get everybody's sentiments against for the tight end position. I heard Mitchell Evans in the comments. Dan and I love Mitchell Evans. Mm-hmm. And we definitely see him as a possibility. I mean, you talk about another person who is a Harbaugh-like guy. Yeah. But in terms of a difference maker at the tight end position as a receiving threat, it's been way too long since Justin Herbert's had that. And that was why I ended up making that selection. And I based it off of what the current tight end room is, which, as far as receiving options going, ain't much.
That's not wrong. Chorizo Cone Papos, why didn't we have that gap in talent conversation in the first round? You're 100% correct. Let's do it. Just real quick. Let's go back for a second. Let's to the point.
Because it was such an easy choice for Dan to make, given how the board fell to him. There was really no context needed.
So I think the question is, looking at the selection at 22, like is the gap at Walter Nolan versus, let's just say now, who's available if I wanted to go interior defensive line? Omar Norman Lott, CJ West, Alfred Collins, right? The gap between Walter Nolan and those guys, is it that big compared to, let's say, the gap if we were to go with, let's say instead we went with receiver, right? Matthew Golden, Egbuka. Who else would you even look at? Maybe Gray's Abel would be another one. So you'd probably do. I mean, Gray's Abel is probably the one. I mean, it's probably between Gray's Abel and then either Egbuka and Golden.
You made the right choice, Dan.
But I think that's a good point, though. Like, would you rather go from, like, if you're pairing the two, right? Like, would you rather pair, let's say, 3 rounds? Would you rather pair, like, into your defensive line, arguably 2 or 3, paired with tight end, some would say 3?
This will actually be a good exercise for us to dissect after round 2 is over.
Exactly.
Once round 1 passes, see who the Chargers end up selecting at 55. And then, much like it was last year when the Chargers selected Joe Alt and paired it with Ladd McConkey, ascertain just what those 2 picks were together. Because let's not forget, after Joe Alt went off the board, you had, 7 or 8 more offensive linemen that went in the first round? And nothing that you were going to pick up with your second round pick was going to be the caliber of Joe Alt or any of those others. So that's a good exercise for people to remember, that once the second round pick is named for the Chargers, go back and then ascertain what the combination could have been, depending on who the first round selection is.
Yep. Let's see. Interior defensive line is so deep, says Trezo Compapas, which is why you don't have to take another position in the first 2 rounds. Maybe. I'd argue otherwise, honestly. There's certain position, like I think people talked about the tackle group last year, it was deep. But like there are levels to it. Joe Alt was slam dunk. Everyone questioned it at the beginning of it. And then as soon as, they go get Ladd McConkey, you're like, oh, thank goodness. Again, people are asking to trade. People are asking to trade. We don't do trades on this one. We're sticking and picking here. Joe Ortiz said we are taking the BPA. We cannot be greedy and say we can wait till later. They will take who they think is the best player, even if it's not the same on everyone else's board. Bingo.
He did say that. One thing that Dan and I have come to find out is, as much as he or I or any of us love to play, GM and break apart all these draft picks and what we would do, put your Joe Ortiz hat on just for a second and just apply that to what you think he and the Chargers would do. And it's a little bit of a brain tease because it forces you to think against what you normally do.
Yeah, 100%.
But if there's one thing that we have learned about the Ortiz-Harbaugh regime thus far, is that a lot of the things that they actually tell you, they end up following, as opposed to the previous regimes that wouldn't really tell us anything, and then you end up holding your breath every time a 3rd round pick was selected. Yeah, I like this way a lot better.
When someone tells you who they are, you should believe them.
Yes.
So,
all right, Dan.
Brad
now
says,
back to you. Oh, sorry.
Brad says tight end at 22, then receiver in 2 and 3. What? So they were thinking Mason Taylor at 22? And then who? Io Manor, Royals?
He would double up on, look, I'm not going to knock the strategy. If you told me that you got 3 new playmakers for Justin Herbert like that, bravo, congratulations. That's awesome. I would just love to know who they would have been and how you would have prioritized it.
This is the deep cuts that our listeners and viewers do. Uber Goober Jack, are you guys wearing a 4-leaf clover and a palm tree with 4 branches because 420 just happened?
No, actually has nothing to do with that.
Nope.
But first of all, the fact that you're putting that together, props to you.
Well done. Joseph DiMartini, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan are guys that are far ahead of defensive line talent in rounds 4 and 5. 100%. PTSD equals Telesco in the third. Yep, we're approaching that.
I don't think we'll ever forget it.
No, Ortiz can find the right guys. All right, so now I am putting on my Ortiz hat.
You are back on the clock, Wolkenstein.
All right, so we are round 3. Again, we've gotten
cock it up.
We've done Walter Nolan and Elijah Arroyo. Now, my head tells me I'm looking at 2 positions right now. Receiver,
show me the board. Show everybody the board.
Receiver and interior offensive line is there. I'm kind of looking at in my head. Folks on the big board here, according to PFF, of course, RJ Harvey, Elijah Roberts, if they wanted to go edge, Jared Wilson is there.
Can we see the board?
Oh, I thought I was sharing it. I'm sorry.
No. There we go. Thank you.
My apologies. Let's see. You've got Wyatt Millum, Jack Sawyer, which a lot of people are high on Jack Sawyer.
Jared Wilson still fell to the third. Okay.
Charles Grant, DJ Giddens, a lot of people like him.
Ashton Gelati.
Dorian Strong.
One of my personal favorites.
See, the way this board fell. So there's a pretty precipitous drop-off at interior offensive line. You're not getting a starting one. Oh, okay. So this is the risk, Jake. I think Torrey Horton is a great find for this Chargers team. And I don't think I think it would be
I'm not going to sway you in the direction that I believe that you should go.
So this is, but the team is got. Oh, go ahead. You can finish.
I was just gonna say, make the right decision, please. I'm not gonna tell you what position to do because this is your pick and this is us having the same draft. But do the right thing, Dan.
Oh shit. Okay, so
do the right thing, Dan. As much as you were laying it on me, showing everybody the landscape of what's out there. Come on. Spoiler alert, there's not just one thing for you to do, but just make sure that one of the 2 things you do is the right decision.
Yeah, like my gut is telling me the drop off from Torrey Horton to whoever after that is pretty freaking high. But you're probably getting a starting offensive lineman right now if you were to do Wilson. Although I don't know, man. Well, I know. RJ Harvey's there. Okay, hold on. Folks are sleeping on RJ Harvey, by the way. The dude had freaking almost 3,000 yards and 38 touchdowns in the last 2 years. Oh, man. I don't think that's it, though. This shit sucks, dude. Oh, Elijah Roberts there, too. See, now I'm starting to overthink it again. I need some help, Jake. Come on. Give me your thoughts. We're in the war room together here.
Dan, there's 2 positions that I'm looking at. It's either edge or running back.
So it's Roberts or Harvey for you?
Scroll down a little bit.
I just don't see them going to Harvey. I don't know, man. It might be Horton for me. I'm
not going to say no against Horton because I have been one of the biggest supporters of Torrey Horton. I love Torrey Horton. I would love to see him with this offense. But given
Folks-
your options on the board,
Folks in the chat are also looking at edge, Elijah Roberts, and Jack Sawyer, who I know you're a big fan of. Folks in the chat would be pumped.
if Jack Sawyer lasts to the third round, yeah, I think people would be pumped. Again, depending on how you look at Jack Sawyer as a pass rusher, that's a whole different conversation to have. But if, again, trying to keep things as realistic as possible here, I don't think that Jack Sawyer lasts until the 86th pick. Dan, this is your pick, man. Come on.
Dude, and I've run up against it.
Pull the trigger. You know what to do. Just know that it's going to change the entire landscape for the rest of the draft. So,
Yeah. All right.
Pressure.
I'm going with something that I think I wouldn't regret. I'm going Torrey Horton.
Look, I can't hate it because I love Torrey Horton. I would have gone a different direction if it was me, but I can't knock it because of who you selected. So
the reason I was thinking through this was they need to improve their interior offensive line. Like they have to.
I don't chose a wide receiver.
Well, hold on.
I'm kidding.
Yes,
shit.
But there are options, I think, still in round 4 for that. I don't know if you're going to be getting like a bona fide X style receiver who's going to have impact snaps.
It's fair.
After this, like for example, like we just look at the receiver group now. Your options are Tez Johnson, Ty Felton, Pat Bryant, who actually I kind of like, but
don't
again,
knock Pat Bryant.
But I think comparatively speaking, right? I think Torrey Horton's in a different class. Jonte Thornton would probably be the next one that I would honestly go after. That's Nick Nash is there too. I forgot about him. That's kind of it. Nick Nash is like 26. So yeah, that's my rationale.
Okay.
We've got defensive line, tight end, and wide receiver.
Did it already go? Okay, so we are at round 4 now. So it is my pick now. Okay.
Your pick.
So let's.
Will Howard sitting right there.
Yep. So enticing. All right, let's see how this monstrosity has fallen to me. So tight ends now off the board. David Walker's intriguing because you're definitely going to need an edge player at some point. Scroll down a little bit before me, Dan. Geez, Castro.
See, now we're talking.
Frazier here. Not too shabby.
Yep.
Ahmed there.
Ooh, Jaden Blue would be fun though, dude. I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you on the guard.
Yeah, this would probably be. I know it's not bringing up a lot of corners there, and there's probably a good reason for it, but just show me who is actually left.
Ooh, good call. Let's see. Corners.
Wow. In this particular mock draft,
they are gone.
The corners went off in this particular draft. So, wow, that's a hell of a simulation. Okay, so take me back to the overall.
Have you seen Alexander, though?
I have watched Alexander.
I don't like it. Okay, anyways, go back
to take me back to the overall. There we go. Scroll down for me, please. And click that little button that says draft next to the Miles Frazier. Yes, sir.
All right. So in this scenario, you've got a new interior defensive lineman, superstar, Walter Nolan. Elijah Arroyo is your raw and unfiltered tight end. Torrey Horton, who I think a lot of people are sleeping on because he's hurt this past year, but before that, dude is balling. And then, you probably got a new guard as well. And so I would argue, I don't know if Chargers fans could be upset with any of those 4. That's a check on all the things that Chargers fans have.
2 trenches and 2 playmakers for Justin Herbert. Not too bad.
Yep. The only thing people would probably be bitching about would be running back. And that's probably where we're going to look at now, I'm guessing. And this kind of, because you did this, like you're now a BPA through and through.
I see one in particularly that I'd like, but given the fact that a running back has still not been selected yet, Dan, this is your pick.
Let's go look at him.
before you select Dan, I despise every pick with the heat of the sun. Love it. And then he just says, JK, it's okay so far. But I like that first analogy. It was great.
Way to make up for Dan shenanigans. Thanks so much.
Well, Dan, you got some intriguing options here.
I kind of like
for running back.
So like this would be a good time to go for a Bashal Tootin. I can't believe his rank is at 211. There's not a chance in hell. Longer Beam is there, and I like him too. Have you seen him?
Mm-hmm. When that overall board fell the way that it did, there was one name that jumped out to me immediately.
Was it that one?
Nope.
No. Really?
It's who you're hovering on right now.
I was going to ask.
APR.
Dude. So if we're going BPA, folks in the chat, would you do... So, okay, Hanan Derry, this is my biggest issue with
Tootin.
Bashal Tootin. Is like, you can't be that lackluster with a football at the running back position when you're not RB1 in the NFL. And if there is one team that's like prioritizing, like, don't F this up, it's the Chargers. And that's kind of why I was kind of, yeah. Yes, ADP is average draft position. Yes, I know. I'm talking about the rank when they have these ranked this high. I'm like, there's no way. Look at what Tootin was. He was at 211. It's like, that just seems crazy to me.
Bring the board back up, Dan.
Yeah, I think I'm going APR.
Can you make the selection appear on the screen?
Oh, I did it again. I'm sorry. I keep thinking I'm sharing my screen. Good Lord. I apologize. Yeah. I think right now it's between APR and Longer Beam. Do you think APR would be there later?
I think they would both
They're both going to
be there later. We're talking round 5 here. I think that both of them will still be there at that point.
No, I'm saying, but if we wait to round 6, they're both gone, right?
And this is your pick.
God damn it. They're going for impact. I think you're going APR. Okay.
It's my favorite pick that Dan's made of the whole day.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, Jake, you are on round 6. I actually feel pretty good about this one right now.
Oh, man.
Still no corner, still no running back.
Yeah, for all the flame that's going to get. So show me the remaining running back room that is on there. Tootin's still there. Oh, man. I'm going to make this easy because the running back is just obviously a huge need. It's Manungai.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's Manungai here.
So you're going that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now tell me why him versus Tootin.
Well, fumble issues, number 1.
Sure.
But just the style, the productivity of Manungai. And yes, is it another Rutgers running back? Sure, it is. But I think he could be a nice complement to what you want to pair with a Najee Harris. Whether it was Manungai or a Taj Brooks, who was another one that's kind of coming up draft boards a lot. As Dan brings it up, I know a lot of people here like Jordan James. I mean, it's pretty damn good production. But again, I'm putting on my Harbaugh hat here. Again, we're talking about 31 flavors. Any of these running backs, you can make a legitimate case why they would either be a compliment, a comparison, or add something substantial to the Chargers running back stable. You could make an argument for every single one.
So you're going but you're preferring double thunder versus thunder and lightning.
Yeah, in this particular case, I am.
Okay. All right, selected. P.S. That might be one of the best names of the draft so far. It's Upton Stout.
It's a good name. Just kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit.
Upton Stout. Upton Stout. Okay. Trees are going papa. 0 fumbles and 700 carries. That's why, Dan. Okay. Easy there, Turbo. Jeez. Rocket Sanders reminds me of Rod Bernstein. Blast from the past. Rocket Sanders is fun, dude. He's just like a bowling ball with knives.
Now you're really filling out the depth, Dan.
Yep.
It really could go anywhere.
So this is where I'm just curious, where did Kobe go?
Well, first of all, spell it correctly.
Was it COBE? Sorry.
Yes.
I can't search for it here. All right, well, whatever. Can I do it here?
I think you need to spell it correctly.
115. There we go.
Okay.
Dang. I would have loved that. Okay. So back to BPA. This is kind of where I'm getting into corner. Thinking corner, but also possibly linebacker, looking at special teams. Let's look at the corners. Oh, I really like Zoff Frazier. Dang. This might be it.
That might be the selection, Dan.
Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, I'm not going to overthink it. Zoff Frazier. I think he brings size. I would like to see like another 10 pounds, 15 pounds or so in the next year or two, but dude, I think that's something that Clint Scale and Jesse Mitchell would freaking die for. Cam Hart and him with that size with Dean Leonard. Yeah, that's it. That was arguably the easiest one I had so far. We're now with your second round 6 selection, I believe.
This center class,
third,
has been so crazy to watch from what we projected what the center class was going to be prior to the 2025 season starting. 2024 season. And it's just had such the whole landscape has changed essentially, whether it's guys going back to college, guys that had their draft stock taken down due to injury, guys like Gray Zabel all of a sudden jumping up to center one, given their versatility. Jake Majors being here at the 6 just seems like a damn gift. Honestly, it does. Now, before I run this card in, let's again take a lay of the land.
Dude's still there.
Dude's still there. Dan, show me the linebacker class specifically, because we've heard so much about. And on live television, there goes my light. So that was nice.
Great.
My light was so pissed off at me that I didn't just say, you couldn't have just said Jake Majors and call up the card. Goddamn. Okay, so let's see this linebacker class. The reason I say this is because this is probably where all those reports of the Chargers meeting with a slew of linebackers, it's going to be for these special teams purposes.
Yep.
But as I'm looking at what I currently got in front of me, yeah, no, Majors still rings true as the pick here for me.
Okay.
So
P.S.
Make it so.
Okay, real quick sidebar. Linebacker. Who decided that it was a good idea to start naming your children like, let's call him Teddy, but add a random E at the end?
Hey man, everybody wants to be different. It's fine.
Yeah, well, don't pick Teddy. Jeez. All right, you want Jake Majors next? Okay.
Give me Jake Majors.
Dude, I think Bajal Tootin had a bong selfie posted or something.
Bye, Babby. Sorry it wasn't a better draft for you. Apologies.
Great show, bad draft. Honestly, I'm kind of digging this right now. All right, so Denzel Burke. Let's look at the receivers again, because there's actually Nick Nash is there.
Let's be real, Dan. Do you think that Nick
No,
Nash is
he's
still
not
going to
gonna be
be on
there.
the board at
No.
this point in the draft?
But I
Neither
would
do I.
absolutely go Jimmy Horn Jr. though.
You love Jimmy Horn Jr.
Dude, I think he has been so.
Do you think it's realistic that this is the conversation and this is the area that he is being considered at?
Yeah, I do. Because that would give them like that speed element that I think this Chargers team has been like. I mean, it is a little redundant, I guess, a little with Darius Davis. Do you remember Torrey Horton's 40 time, by the way?
4.41, I believe he ended up running, which was great considering him coming off of his injury. That was so good to see.
Sorry, so Jimmy Horn is up there for me. Anybody else screaming at you?
If Jake Majors wasn't taken, then Drew Kendall would have. Burke as a possibility, getting another corner at this point in the draft.
I was thinking Burke too.
Mm-hmm. That's another one. But it's not my pick.
Yeah, look at defensive line for a second.
Oh, I see someone on there that immediately caught my eye, especially if we're talking this late in the draft.
Really? Who?
This is it's probably where the conversation starts for him, is right here, but he could honestly go anywhere from middle to late 6th round to 7th round to UDFA. So I'm not going to tell you who it is, honestly, because no, it's not. Because I'm not going to allow it to shift your decision, Dan.
No, I wouldn't get one of these guys. I'm not getting Tootin purely because like he's not going to be there. People are saying Desmond Watson. What are your thoughts on Desmond Watson?
Honestly, never got around to watching Desmond Watson, so I'm not going to try to sit here and act like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. What did they say? Oh, he's the guy that's like literally a quarter ton. Yeah, 465.
Yeah, saw the highlights. I just never got around to actually watching him. Impressive testing for even a guy that's his size to go out and do what he did. But I never got around to actually watching him.
Yeah, I think I might go Denzel Burke here. You are up, sir. Take us home. Last selection
here. Okay.
Chargers irrelevant.
Bring up the linebacker board because it is probably going to be one of those. I'm not going to waste any time with this, Dan. Give me Jalen Walker, Indiana.
Jalen Walker. I have not seen a lick of him, so. What do you know about him? Anything?
A little bit.
Okay. Hey, you earned a reward. All right. Well, as much as I got shit for everybody else for not forgetting Walter Nolan, I got an A+ on that one, baby. Which, by the way, the grades on PFF are such horse shit. Like, I'd take them with so many grains of salt. All right. So, folks in the chat.
See, they're knocking your Torrey Horton grade because they think you should have taken Xavier Restrepo.
Which is bullshit. Context.
It's not. Xavier Restrepo is not what the Chargers need.
No. Okay. Well, this is it. Right there. There is our draft haul. So, Chargers go out of this
Miles Frazier getting a C+ grade in round 4?
That's what I'm saying, dude.
I don't know about that, man.
Monangai also.
But if we're judging
the worst grade on the board was Monangai.
If we're grading this off of, or if we're judging this off of grades about each one of our selections, then Dan clearly won this. No question about it.
I did?
None of your picks get a D-.
Yeah, I got it close. I got a C-.
That calls game right there.
I got a C- though. I'd argue C- in round 3 is worse than D- in round 6. Yeah, but I would agree. Hanan Dairy, stupid PFF grades. I agree. But no, like, think about this for a second, though. So let's take this comment off so that I can see your beautiful face. So Chargers go into this draft, right? We've all talked about it ad nauseum, like so many different avenues. But realistically, they fill holes at interior defensive line, instant starter. Elijah Arroyo, instant starter. Miles Frazier, I would almost guarantee you instant starter. So that's 3 starters right there. APR is definitely going to be getting reps by rotation because you know that Khalil Mack's going to be on rotation. So that's probably 4. Monangai is definitely going to be, it's not going to be Najee Harris.
It's still going to be running back by committee. Yes.
Yep. Do you think Jake Majors starts?
With all these names now that we're hearing about the possibility of who the hell is going to be starting center, whether it's Zion Johnson, whether it's Andre James, I think given the fact that Zion has less experience at center than Jake Majors has, I don't think you can discount that as a possibility. So take that for what you will. It's probably not going to happen. If it's me and me being a betting man, I'd probably say it's going to be Andre James under center come day 1. And then that's when the conversation between Miles Frazier and Zion Johnson would get very interesting.
But think about this. Like, look at impact, right? Like, I think the Chargers cornerback room is going to be nuts at training camp with St. Juste, with the folks they brought in there and in the draft. Like, I genuinely don't know what they're going to want to do at cornerback. Like, do you want Tarheeb Still to be an outside corner? Can you rely on Cam Hart for a full season? There's a lot of question marks with those 2 free agents that they just got.
You made both selections for the cornerbacks of this draft.
Zoff Frazier's sick. I love Zoff Frazier.
So I love the fact that you had them double dipping again.
Yeah.
After they signed 2 free agent corners, took 2 corners in last year's draft, and here we go, wash, rinse, repeat, because Joe Ortiz loves drafting himself cornerbacks.
Yep. Hanan Dairy, star power with Nolan. Frazier as well. Major and Monangai are just good football players for sure. My biggest gripe is some of those guys don't feel like Harbaugh guys, specifically Nolan and Arroyo. So Arroyo, and actually we talked about this during our draft episode, Jake, or our tight end episode. I kind of agree with Arroyo on the proven production side because you've heard Jim Harbaugh talk about that a lot. But like athletic traits and what this Chargers team needs and what Justin Herbert could use, like it's 100% a Harbaugh type.
Yes. And again, for people that are, because I know that there are some people who have dissected the tight end class specifically and kind of been a little bit more harsh on it than others. I actually really love the depth of this tight end class.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Whether you're talking about rounds 1 through 4,
yeah, honestly,
you could still find yourself a good tight end to pair with Justin Herbert. Now, the reason that I ended up making that selection for Arroyo is because to the question that was asked in terms of Harbaugh guys, my ideal choice would be that Mason Taylor would have still been there at 55. If you're talking about a Harbaugh guy, I'm with you. That's where my mindset would have gone. And if he was there, that would have been the pick as well. But given who I was looking at beyond that and the way that the board fell, again, you got to get Justin Herbert. Some type of consistent playmaking ability at the tight end spot. Got to do it.
What about, I'm curious though, what about Walter Nolan is not a Harbaugh type?
I mean, if you were to compare him with Kenneth Grant, given the fact that both of them were on the board, it's just not a fair comparison because the familiarity in playing with Michigan, I mean, it's obviously leans towards Grant. I think that Walter Nolan would, God, actually, if it was Walter Nolan or if it was Kenneth Grant, are going to come in and are going to replace the gap left by Poona Ford dramatically, and then some, because both of those guys have pass rushing capabilities. One just happens to do it a hell of a lot better and more consistent than the other. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that he's not a Harbaugh guy, though.
Folks in the chat are saying he was questioned if he loves football. Because I think I've seen rumblings of like him.
There has been rumblings as far as character concerns. If we're just talking about the player,
I haven't heard the character stuff.
I've heard a little bit of it. I've heard a little bit of it. So okay. I get it, but I think in terms of traits and just doing a overall player evaluation, there's no question.
Again, if Derek Harmon was on the board, like 100%, I'm taking Derek Harmon. He's like, I think he's my guy at 22.
Just to counter that for a second, and then this is not necessarily a one-to-one comparison, but remember when Deontay Johnson was strangely just all of a sudden let go from the Baltimore Ravens? The Chargers were in immediately to try and get him for the Chargers until the Houston Texans picked him right up. So
that's a great point.
I get this thought process. If we were using this thought process for the previous regime, 100%, they probably wouldn't even have him on the board because they were very, very strong character evaluators. In this circumstance, depending on what the situations actually are, and if there is, in fact, truth to any of these rumblings, then yeah, maybe he's not. Maybe he's not a Harbaugh guy.
Coach can fix him, says Brad. Everyone wants to play for Coach. Yeah, everyone wants to play for the rambling coach. Both things can be true for sure. One analyst said Walter Nolan is inconsistent. Well, analysts say a lot of things. But again, like if it was me, you're looking at how many of these guys the impact.
One time Max Kellerman said with the fate of the world on the line, he would take Iguodala to take the final shot. So
jeez.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, don't they?
But I'm looking at this haul that we got. I think coming out of this draft with Nolan, Arroyo, Horton, and Frazier, I don't think anybody could be upset with that. You could nitpick at like, could he have gotten a different tight end maybe, but like in terms of the Chargers fulfilling needs with BPA, which I think what we did our best to do here was go BPA and let it come to us. Which again, like corners went crazy early in this draft. Receivers went early in this draft.
The way that the board fell was very bizarre in this particular draft.
Mm-hmm.
So don't foresee that to be the case whatsoever come, what is it? I was trying to actually go by the hours, but screw it, 2 days from now. I don't see that big of a run for corners as we got by the time that we ended up going through round 4. That was crazy. So again, this was an interesting way that the board ended up falling. Colston Loveland again went 10 to the Bears, was the first tight end taken over Tyler Warren. It was a very wonky start to that first draft.
Yeah. Tracer says you all flamed on running back.
That's fine. Hey, that's totally fine.
But hold on. Think about like Harbaugh running backs. Like who I forget. Wow, this is me being old. It's late. What was the running back that left Michigan last year? That was high on.
Oh, Blake Corum.
Like he's no speed demon, right? Like he's kind of like the bell cow, kind of like a Najee Harris type. Not as big, clearly, not as physical, but like he was like the consistent 4.5 yards per pop.
I remember the conversations that everybody was having that Jim Harbaugh was going to be taking Blake Corum in the second round.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Monangai is totally a Jim Harbaugh type. I don't think this is flame at all. This is like a football playing Jesse type, 100%. Same with Frank Gore. Sure, why not?
The argument for running back, I will not disagree with any single argument that anybody has. And whether your argument is to spend the pick at 22, whether the pick or the argument is to say by the time we get out of round 3 that you better have taken a running back at that point in time, or if you're one of the ones that wants to wait because this is one of the deepest running back classes that we've had in 20 years, I will understand every single argument because it makes sense. And because also there's just so much talent that you have in this class.
Io Manor was BPA at 55 and by a lot.
I really like Io Manor, and I
don't. I'm low on him.
Hey.
Why? Like, no, like, seriously, like, what am I missing?
We just got off the conversations of Harbaugh, guys, Dan.
I mean, I know he's a blocker. I get it.
Do a little bit more than that. He's got some pretty damn good hands. If you've watched any of what he can do, he's got some pretty good hands. His catch radius is absolutely ridiculous for what he can do. He's a prototypical X type of wide receiver that you could use in this offense. So I'm a big fan of Io Manor. Again, the difference. What do I think that his ranking at 55 was really going to be that high? Not necessarily. Do I think that he ends up getting selected in the second round? Yes. And in my particular scenario, I took the tight end because, God, when you compare the two position groups right now between wide receiver and tight end for what the Chargers currently have, you just needed to get a little bit more juice in there. And that's what took precedence.
I don't know, man. Io Manor just didn't flash to me. Like, I don't know what he does. What does he do better than Torrey Horton, for example? Block?
Blocking, yes, would be one. He's got a bit more of a thicker frame than Torrey Horton comes in with. So
what does he do better?
The gap is not huge, if that's the point that you're trying to make.
I just don't. I don't think that he raises. What's a good way of putting this? Do you think I don't think he takes attention away from Ladd McConkey. No,
but then again, you could make an argument about that for Ladd McConkey compared to a number of different wide receivers.
No, but I'm saying, like, I think they need to get a receiver here or pass catchers that take attention away from Ladd McConkey. And I don't think Io Manor does. Torrey Horton, I think, does.
Then, Dan, select Matthew Golden and be done with it at 22.
Well, again,
if that's what you're looking for.
But Arroyo did that.
Yes.
Like, Arroyo does that. So, we have a little long here. But any revisionist history thoughts or comments on our draft, things that we may have done differently?
I was kind of put in a tough spot at 55, just the way that the board felt to me.
Was.
That is one that I could go back and I could see a different scenario playing out there, but I'm still happy with the selection of Arroyo in that particular circumstance. I'm happy with Miles Frazier in the 4th. I still don't understand the grade given.
The people, so the picks right after 55. So you picked Arroyo. Let me just make it a little bigger for folks. Oh, not that one.
If Trey Harris was there at 55, that would have been the pick. Slam dunk, no questions asked. That would have been the selection for me.
Literally, like 5 picks in a row, almost five picks. Darius Alexander went 47. Mason Taylor 51.
If Mason Taylor was on the board at 55, honestly, that would have been the pick for me as well. I've got Mason Taylor as my number 3 tight end in this class.
Yep, Jalen Noel's there. Who are you
now? Jalen Noel. As much as I love Jalen Noel, as far as what the Chargers need,
not a fit.
It's Jaden Higgins that they need more than they need Jalen Noel.
Mm-hmm. You could have gone Tate Ratledge.
I mean, Tate Ratledge again. That seems more of his territory. I still think he's going to go before the 55th pick. I really do.
I mean, Quinton Judkins.
Huge fan of Femi.
But like, see, like there are names there, but like, are you taking those over Arroyo? Like, you like the guys, but like, I don't know. Like, I thought you did good with what you had.
Depending on how everybody has their big board constructed, I'm sure that there's an argument for it. But again, it was a tough selection for me at 55, given who was still on the board, because there were still plenty of options in particular. And I tried to be as realistic as possible with it, rather than to say, we could always have these pipe dreams of something that's going to happen, and every one of these sites ranks players differently, which of course then manipulates how the mock draft itself falls. So I just tried to be as realistic as possible and practical with 55th overall pick.
I think you did well. Folks in the chat, realistic. By the way, Jake, shout out to the Chargers fans at 9:30 at night. There's like 800 folks in the live chat right now.
Everybody is ready and caffeine lit right now, waiting for the NFL draft. I know that I am. Let's go. Is it Thursday yet? No, it's not. Shit.
Damn it. So, folks in the chat, let us in the comments. What do you want to see happen at 22? Who is the player, or what is the thing you'd like to see happen 2 days from now? I'll give a few moments here. Let's go to some of these comments. Charge could trade up a little in the second round, get Taylor at tight end before the Donkeys do it. In this situation, like they
was
totally
he the
could.
one that was talking about getting ahead of the Broncos earlier?
Probably.
In the chat? Hell yes. I love how his sole focus is to do anything that's going to damage the Broncos.
Hanan says, send a 6, go ahead to 52, get your magic. Yeah. In this scenario, I probably would have. Like, in my opinion, Mason Taylor is in another tier than Elijah Arroyo. So if it meant kind of a similar pick swap that we saw last year, yeah, I would do it to jump up 5 spots. Go to Seattle? Sure. I'd do it. Let's see. Loveland or Harmon, says Mark M. Dude. Yeah.
You wouldn't have had to wait any longer for Dan's pick if Derek Harmon was on the board at 22. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah. I would have done it in 2 seconds. And even if it's like Harmon or Loveland, like that's a tough selection for me. Ugh. That's tough. Good draft. It's 11:30 here in San Antonio. Yeehaw. I'm from California and waiting. Yeah.
So are we. So are we.
Someone wants Golden at 22.
Brad Spicoli wants Golden at 22.
He does. TD says Loveland. If not Loveland, then Kenneth Grant. Then without Kenneth Grant, best receiver on the board. Who is the best receiver on the board? So let's go back to this real quick. I'm just curious what people think, because at pick 22, the receivers on the board were Luther Burden, Egbuka, and Matthew Golden.
Golden ended up getting taken, if I remember, by the Lions
at 28.
And then where did
Egbuka went 27
to the Ravens?
Yep.
And where
Burden went to the Packers. The Packers
right after the Chargers.
Yeah.
Finally took a number 1 wide receiver. That's hilarious. See, I know that, especially like DJ, he still has not moved off of his elevation that he brought up for Matthew Golden. And there's very few things that I don't see the same as Daniel Jeremiah. That still probably is just one of the ones. And it's not a knock against Golden. It's just how high he has him ranked.
What does he have? I haven't seen it.
I mean, if you look at his overall big board, it's still pretty high up there. I mean, remember, there was a time just, a month ago when he had Golden as his number 1 guy? So I'm not that high on Matthew Golden, even though Matthew Golden can come in and play. And I think there was just all that surge and jolt after he ran the 40 faster than Isaiah Bond, and by a wide-ass margin, that nobody saw that type of 4.29 juice in him.
I still think I'd rather have Jaden Higgins.
I would too. Why? Because that's the type of prototypical wide receiver that I think that you need. And not only is it going to complement what you can have across from Mike Williams, that's going to be your heir apparent to Mike Williams.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I would agree with that in terms of if you're telling me which one would I pick and which one do I believe would be the overall better fit in this offense. Yeah, I think it would be Higgins.
Right on cue. Jaden Higgins, question mark, will be a little bit of a reach 22, but definitely won't be there 55.
It's yes to both of these. Do I think it would be a reach at 22? Yeah. Do I think he could sneak into the first round? Still yes.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, yes, he's not going to fall to 55.
Yeah. Brad, where's he from? Ohio State? No, Iowa State. Ohio State is Mika Ibuka. All right, Jake, I think we made it. We're still 750 strong after an hour and a half of us jabronis talking in this terrible draft that we had. But again, just to recap, went through a mock draft, full 7 rounds. Chargers got through a whole bunch of holes and come out of this draft.
Giggity.
We're all giggity at this point. Come out of this draft. Let's pull up one more time. Where did it go? Did I lose it? I think I lost it. Maybe. There we go. Your results. Walter Nolan, Elijah Arroyo, Torrey Horton, Miles Frazier, APR, Kyle Manungai.
A terrible Kyle Manungai pick.
The
Good
D-.
Lord, look at that D- grade.
Kyle Manungai D-. Za Frazier, Jake Majors, Denzel Burke, and Jalen Walker. If the Chargers ended day 3 and that was it, I'm good. I'm actually proud of us, Jake. I was a little nervous because we haven't done many of these. I was thinking, like, we're going to absolutely F this up. It was a solid draft. I'll give us a...
It's not bad. It turned out a little bit better than I thought it was going to, honestly.
Same. Brad says, hopefully Ortiz is watching and taking notes. I promise you, Ortiz is not watching.
He is not, and he does not need to take any notes from us. I guarantee it. As we mentioned top of the show, this is going to be our last show prior to the draft.
There is a giveaway.
There is a giveaway that is currently going on that we are going to announce the winner of on draft day prior to the draft kicking off. So if you have not entered it, by the way, do it now.
Yeah, a good chance, actually, because weirdly, I think like X has been weird with the algorithm, and there really haven't been many people that have
find the Chargers Unleashed handle. It's plastered all over the place. So follow the rules, sign up, and we are giving away a draft day jersey of choice. So doesn't necessarily have to be the first round pick. It could be whichever pick that you want.
It could be Za Frazier.
It could be the 7th round pick of the Chargers. And if that is your favorite player, by all means, we're going to get you a 7th round selection for the Chargers. That's what we're going to do. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow the rules to enter. Again, we will be announcing this on Thursday, just prior to the kickoff of the NFL draft. On top of that, as we said, we're not entirely sure how we're going to do this from Thursday to Saturday, but we're going to try to come up with a creative way to still have some content for you guys. It may not come in the form like this, but there will still be a way that our 2 ugly mugs are going to try to get on here with possibly some inebriation and
feelings.
Talk some NFL draft with all of you. So, looking forward to that.
Me too. Johnny Dove is looking forward to Justin Herbert no longer being the Chargers quarterback, apparently. We've reached that point of the show. CJH Jake. Now do your mock ungrateful free agents. I think you meant undrafted free agents, but I'm going to stick with ungrateful.
Ungrateful free agents, sons of bitches.
How dare you? Oh, dude. Cool. All right. Well, we'll post this one on X on the handle. See what people think of this draft. But I thought we did pretty good, all things considered. Draft board felt a little weird this time, but I think, managed it as best as we could. I think we did good. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I got a lot of work to do between now and Thursday on some draft positions that I have yet to do that I need to get back into. So pray for me and my bags under my eyes these next 3 days as I burn the midnight oil getting through these selections. Jake, anything else before we get out of here?
It's about time that it's fucking here. About time that it's fucking here. I'm not going to be sleeping much the next 2 days, and there's a damn good reason for that. One, because physically, if Dan ever needed like a pleasant way to just tell me to shut the fuck up, that's it right there in the nicest way possible, to just drop the chimes, because it immediately just stops me in my tracks.
Okay.
Won't get sick and tired of hearing it though, because it's a beautiful sound. No, I'm not going to be sleeping much over the next 2 days, simply because obviously the NFL draft, and two, I turned 40 on Thursday on the NFL draft. So yeah, physically, I just don't sleep that much, unfortunately. So that's another reason why this weekend is going to turn up for sure, and we're going to have some fun.
Did you schedule the colonoscopy yet?
Man, you're just turning the flame down, dude. Like, what are you doing? Bro. Yeah, just play the chime and shut the fuck up from now on. Thanks a lot, Dan. Now you can wrap up the show, you bastard.
Happy birthday to Jake. And I almost went way down the rabbit hole there. I'm gonna leave it there.
Holy shit. Wrap it up, Dan.
All right, this is hilarious. Thank you all for tuning in for Jake Hefner and his hospital visits upcoming. You can find him at Jake T. Hefner, myself at Dan W. Sports on X. This is Chargers Unleashed. Thanks for tuning in. And next time you hear us, we'll be talking about the draft selections the Chargers are having after night one. Enjoy it. Less than 2 nights away. It'll be fun. For Jake, we'll talk to you soon. Next Chargers Unleashed. Bye. I gotta find it.